All right, thanks for joining us. I'm Jeremy Beer, president of Creed and Culture Books, and talking today to my friend and one of our future authors, Mark Mitchell. Mark is Dean of Academic Affairs and Professor of Government at Patrick Henry College in Virginia. Um, Mark, how are you?
Doing well, Jeremy. It's good to
This
talk to
is,
you.
and this is not AI generated, nothing here. We're not, I think AI companion I turned off. I don't even know what that is. I know I'll need to learn that. But when we got on this Zoom call, but we're talking about AI and sort of the digital, what the sort of digital revolution is doing to us and threatens to do to us, in the future. And we'll talk about a book that Mark is writing about that, just about finishing on that here in a second. But we're going to start with a news item that prompted this little video because Mark sent me an email. Did you see this? And it was an announcement from Cedarville, are they university, Mark, now?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, in Ohio about how they were going to be using AI in the future in their educational sort of programs. Talk about what they said, Mark, and sort of
Yeah.
what your
Well,
reaction to it was.
there's enthusiasm for integrating the newest technologies into every aspect of education, and in a way, it's understandable because you don't want to miseducate students, or you don't want them to be left behind by some revolution that's going to transform the world. And so, it's an attempt to get ahead of that and to be on the cutting edge of something new and exciting. The question is that the right place to be given the specifics of this technology? And I don't think it is. I think it's not going to help education. It's harmful in a lot of different ways. But one of the ideas that seems to be animating a lot of the enthusiasm, or at least driving people to adopt this, is a sense of inevitability.
Yeah.
This is unavoidable, therefore we must
Yeah,
adopt
you're an
it.
old man shaking your fist at the cloud if you possibly
Exactly.
say anything at all about that isn't positive or at least like you said, at least accepting of sort of
Yeah.
the AI driven digital future we have in front of us.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the idea of anything being inevitable
Yeah.
chafes me right off the bat because it seems to abdicate human
Yeah.
agency. We can
Right.
choose. And the fact that we can choose what's good for us or not means that we have to really do some serious consideration of every new thing that's on offer and ask, is this in fact good for us? Does this enhance education? Is this making us better, or is it harming us in really serious ways? One of the things that was sort of the way the Cedarville rollout was presented was that we need to use this wisely and biblically.
It's a Christian school, we should
It's a
point out to
Christian school,
people. Yeah.
and I think that's that's a good way to frame it if
Yeah.
it's something that can be used wisely and biblically. It just elides past
Yeah.
the
And also if it's
question.
not just a slogan, right?
Right.
Um,
And I think the question is this a tool like, say, a really good word processor? We're going to teach our students to use our word processors better so they're more
yeah.
effective at whatever we train them to do. Or is it kind of like, say, cocaine?
Yeah.
Because you say,
Porn.
well, we're going to teach people how to use cocaine wisely and biblically.
Yeah.
I say, well,
Yeah.
no, you're not. It's
Right.
something that you should avoid because it will destroy them.
Right.
And so we do have to, instead of just assuming that every new technology is a neutral tool that
Yeah.
can be used well or
And that
badly.
is so, still after years of decades of our deepest thinkers
Yes.
pushing back against that idea and showing that technology is never neutral, and certainly
Correct.
technology is certainly less neutral than others. I think maybe if not,
Right.
it can be less neutral. That's still the
Yes.
commonly held belief among smart people, like
Yeah.
educated people.
Yeah. And
But
it's
you're right. I
it's
think that's the matrix in which they're receiving AI, right? It's like just another tool. Just got to
mhm.
learn to use it well, you know?
Yeah.
Hey, everything's neutral. It's all in how we use
Yeah.
it, as if tools don't have their own logic. and there's
Yeah, and
momentum.
the marketers, of course, have every incentive to to eliminate that question or set that question aside or blind us to that question because they want to make money on this, and so
The
you need
AI
to have
marketers, yeah, of course.
early enthusiastic adopters. But
Yeah.
what's coming out, and it's becoming just, I mean, everybody has stories, I think, of instances where these things have shown themselves to be less than what they've promised to be or what they're promised to be. But their studies are coming out now that show that use of these large language models, for instance, for writing, are devastating in terms of hindering cognitive ability, making students worse writers than they were before.
The product may end up being better, but you become a worse writer in the meantime.
That's the thing. What it does is it creates a kind of a pseudo competency.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
That you appear to be competent as long as you have this prosthetic, but as soon as the prosthetic is removed, you find an atrophied capacity. And this is what's happening over and over again.
What we've seen with our own geospatial intelligence, thanks to GPS. Right.
It's exactly. I use that example in my. I talk to students. They tell me, "Well, I went so and so." I say, "Well, where was it?" And they just give me a kind of stupefied look. I don't know. I went where the machine told me.
It's out there somewhere.
And this, so they don't. They
it was a 21-minute drive. 23 minutes if I didn't take the fastest way. Yeah.
Exactly. But is it west of here or north of here? They have no idea. They have no sort of mental map that's being slowly developed through experience with the real world. Right. It becomes purely a kind of virtual engagement with discrete little places that they have no connection with, and no ability to connect to other things.
Educators would be worried crazy about this. If at least one of the goals of education is to develop competence in us, in sort of core human areas of competence like writing, thinking, but instead what we see, you were saying before we started recording, like about high school, your son's school, like talk about what you're doing there.
He's being encouraged at a private school to run readings through what they call an AI leveler, because he's teaching philosophy and history of ideas, which can be difficult and challenging. So if we run these texts through an AI leveler, it dumbs it down so that everybody can understand it, which means the students are never being asked to elevate their own capacities to try to grasp
it also has an implied premise that what is difficult can be dumbed down to make simple without the loss of anything in that process. And there are some writers who are simply bad writers, right? That's why we have editors. But there is also thinking that is deep and profound thinking that cannot be dumbed down without losing. I really wonder, Mark, in the future if anybody will read a document. You can't open a document on your laptop anymore without it being right away offered, whether it's Adobe, Word, whatever it may.
Yeah.
Summarize this for you. Can we summarize this for you? Everything on the internet will summarize it for you. I always think, well, if it could be written in summary, why did anybody write the full document? I mean, I get I get having the executive summary. I mean, that's fine, but AI is going to write things for us that then AI will, on the other end, summarize for us. When does it ever come into us? Doing the thing.
This is an important idea, and you use the word competency, and it's really a key word I think that needs to be honed in, because competency is an essential for human beings in terms of development and in terms of proper functioning in the world. But competency only comes through friction.
Yeah.
And friction means a kind of struggle, a difficulty. Any skill that is acquired that's a real skill is only sort of acquired on the far side of a great deal of friction.
Correct.
And what these technologies are seeking to do is eliminate the friction,
and therefore
in the name of pseudo competency rather than actual competency. And so what we have is simulated competencies, increasingly passing as real competencies. And what you have here is the is a kind of attenuation of real character development, of real cognitive development,
Yeah. Right.
and it's being replaced by something that's virtual.
Well, there will also be attenuation of health. I mean, certainly mental health. I think we can just
Yeah.
go ahead and guarantee that, right?
Well, it's
People are
interesting.
not going to
Yeah.
be as mentally healthy when they're not
Yes.
developing, actual,
Right.
to use the old word, actualizing themselves.
Right. Well, there were a lot of articles that came out just this past summer highlighting what is being called AI psychosis. And this is a thing now. Just Google it. And what's interesting is just this summer, there was an MIT study that came out that showed that students using large language models for writing actually became cognitively impaired. Nature just published a study that showed that people who use various AI tools actually are more willing to act unethically when they perceive that the agency was being
Not their own
transferred
agency.
to the machine. And so,
Hey, why wouldn't they perceive that? By the way, we call them agents now, right?
we call them agents.
I have an agent.
And even though at one level we all recognize, okay, it's just a machine, human beings, and it's been shown over and over again, are terrible at distinguishing between or holding the line between, oh, it's just a machine. People that design these things can become deeply involved in terms of their emotions with these AI companions, even though they know it's just a machine and I developed it. They end up feeling love for it.
Well, yeah, we're not used to dealing. We're not wired to deal with things that seem like human beings dealing with us that aren't human beings. That's a totally new thing in the universe.
I think that's right, and I think at the heart of the question is we are creatures of the logos. We use language. We name the world using language, and so when we encounter other languaged entities or things that seem like they're using language, we automatically, we're just primed to assume personhood. And so what we have is pseudo persons impersonating language.
Pseudo persons helping us develop pseudo competencies to create what will increasingly be a pseudo world.
Correct. And that goes right back to this health.
It seems like a Christian college, to our point, and this is we're not slamming you, Cedarville. No one will probably ever even see this from Cedarville, but you're just a good example. Should be thinking a little bit more deeply about this. I'm shocked at how, Mark, and I know you are too, and we can't be the only ones. I'm shocked at how little we went very quickly from people a couple of years ago saying to me in my sort of my world, like, oh, AI, that this is really scary, to now like, hey, AI, okay, well, it's inevitable, or to be cheering. It's like, it probably isn't gonna destroy the world right away. So it's fine. We all have to adapt to it. We need to be the leaders, Yeah. The kind of thoughtful, critical, skeptical analysis of what we're doing is just it's rare, and even in religious circles, it seems like. Do you find that in your
there's not that much that's been written that's really good, and there's really space for a kind of serious theological and philosophical reflection on what does this mean. And ultimately, as I say, I think it turns a lot on a kind of theology of language. What does it mean that we are created in God's image, and that we use the logos, words, language, rational categories to describe, to name, to exercise a kind of loving dominion over the creation, and to the extent that we abdicate language and language making to machines, is in a way, well, it's irresponsible, but it's we're creating something in our own image, and then turning around and making ourselves dependent upon it. It's a kind of strange Promethean reversal that's going to get us into some serious trouble. But the whole time it promises that the promise is so great. It's going, I mean, think of terms like super intelligence. That's going to try. I mean, the end goal of so many of these people that are developing this is to overcome and transcend the human condition. namely, and ultimately to transcend the problem of death itself. And so there's not just the technological problems here; these are theological questions
Yeah.
that have to be rolled into the discussion.
And it's right. So this brings us to your book, which the our working title. This may change, but I think it's a pretty good title right now. Is Breaking Babel: Artificial Intelligence, Apocalypse, and the Revenge of Reality. Babel, of course, referring to the Tower of Babel, is sort of the central metaphor or image that you use in the book. How did you end up thinking about the Tower of Babel as when did the light bulb go on for you? Like, okay,
Yeah,
that's the right metaphor or image to think about what we're doing.
been a few years now that I've been kicking this idea around, but the important point is that sometimes we read these ancient stories as well, interesting stories, and maybe you can tell the kids about them. But I think some of these take on a kind of mythic structure. They're stories that are meaningful and persistent because their inner sense is continues to tell us about ourselves. And the Tower of Babel is an attempt to reach the heavens. It's an attempt to do so apart from God. And we're told in the text, this is in Genesis chapter 11, that they used bricks and mortar. So they had a technology, and the author thought that was significant. And they said, we'll build this tower to the heavens and make a name for ourselves. And this idea of I think the Tower of Babel story has to be understood in parallel with the creation story in Genesis 1 and 2. And God creates, and he creates through language. He says, let there be light. He speaks. He gives his creation a name. He says, he calls the man Adam, and he creates him. And then the first thing that Adam does is names. So Adam names the animals, which is to say the higher names the lower, but the name is given by God. Ultimately, man is given a name by God. And then at the Babel story, in a kind of reversal, they seek to make a name for themselves, which is to say, self-naming is a central component of the story, which means they have to, in a way, deny the name that God has given them in order to self-create.
Yeah.
Which naming is always connected to creation. It's identity.
Yeah.
And so what they're doing is attempt to in a way take revenge against God for the flood, for the punishment that's inflicted there, and do so by creating their own identity using a technology. And this is precisely the story that we're engaging in.
Reliving.
We're creating. We've created something that can name the world. Namely, large language models can use language to do everything that it seems that we can do, and we're doing it in a way that is apart from any kind of submission to a divine order, because we're going to create an order that is our own and dominate it. And in a sense, we are, and some of the cutting edge folks on this are saying Ray Kurzweil was asked, does God exist? And he says, not yet. Implication, we're creating God.
What could go wrong?
Exactly.
What could go wrong?
And the Tower of Babel story, of course, is a story of hubris followed by kind of judgment.
Yeah.
A confusion of the languages that disperses. And in some respects, we are, through our technologies, reversing the judgment of Babel. You can think of Google Translate. Makes it possible for you to understand any language in the world in a kind of more profound and fundamental way. Every time we digitalize a reality, we're turning it, we're translating reality into ones and zeros. It's a kind of grand unifying endeavor that is reversing the curse of Babel. And again, that is an exercise in hubris that will not end well.
Yeah. Well, that is your judgment. And there are, that's the revenge of reality. Your subtitle speaks to sort of the hopeful note in a way, although you think this is likely to come only after the end of a period of uh, troubles.
Yeah, chaos. And I think,
Uh,
I mean, to the extent that we're creating a world where it's increasingly difficult to discern the real from the simulated,
right.
is a world in which a kind of collective insanity is fast approaching.
Yeah.
And so it's essential for people to recognize what's happening and reacquaint themselves with reality, seek to acquire real competencies, not
Mhm.
to shirk the friction or seek to avoid the friction, but to lean into the friction for the sake of developing competencies, even something, the competencies of friendship, versus
People have
the
lost that.
friendship, the pseudo friendship of AI companions. Real
Right.
friendship requires work.
Right.
There's friction involved, but those are the kinds of truly human skills
Yeah.
that we have to acquire, that we have to jealously guard, and
Mhm.
not be satisfied with apparent substitutes, because these substitutes are they're all illusions.
Yeah. Yeah. Mark, this is going to be a great book.
Well,
It's going to be
I
a great
hope
book.
so. I've been
Yeah.
enjoying writing it.
We'll I know you're about finished. We'll be publishing it in the fall of 26. We don't know exactly when yet. But people want to uh, make sure you know, just go to creedandculture.com. Just sign up for our mailing list, and like you're not bombarded with emails, trust me. I think we're getting out one a week right now, which is about as good as we can do. And there's always something substantive in there. More important, you'll get a discount code that allow you to buy books at a heavy discount, and you'll know when Mark's book is coming out. And also, I'll just draw people's attention before we close here, Mark, that you have a piece on that kind of touches on all this in Touchstone magazine. Just came out, right? Is it a couple of a month or so?
Some about a year ago.
Oh, was that a year ago? Okay. Well, anyway, I think people can look it up. It's called Digital Babel?
Perennial Babble.
Perennial Babel. Yeah. So you can find that online if you want to read more, but look forward to the book Breaking Babel, published this fall. So thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeremy. It's great talking.